And just take a few moments, close your eyes, place one hand on your belly, maybe, and one hand on your heart. Just take a few moments to notice the natural flow of your breath. Notice your belly rise on your inhale and hollow out on your exhale. Try to make your inhales just a little longer. Maybe pause at the top before exhaling out. Feel your lungs and your ribs expand out. And just try to stay present in the moment. If your thoughts start to wander, acknowledge it, and then just tune your attention back into your breath. Extend your arms overhead, stretch out through your toes, come into morning stretch. Maybe wiggle your fingers and your toes. And slowly walk your feet over to the right side of your mat. Maybe cross one ankle over the other and walk your hands over to the right side of your mat. Stretch out through your left side body. Stay here for 3 more cycles of breath. And slowly come back to center. Hug your knees into your chest. Maybe rock side to side if that feels good. And then stretch your arms overhead, extend your legs out long, come back into morning stretch. And slowly walk your feet over to the left side of your mat. Maybe cross one ankle over the other. And bring your arms over to the left side of your mat. Stretch out through your right side body. Remember to focus in on your breathing. We're here for one more deep breath. And come back to center. Hug both knees into your chest. Maybe rock side to side if that feels good. And slowly extend your feet up towards the ceiling. Hands can be placed down by your hips. Go ahead and start to point and flex your toes. You can also roll your ankles in one direction and maybe the other. Bend your left knee to a 90-degree angle. Turn your right toes out to the side and bring your right ankle over your left knee. Come into a reclined figure 4. Have the option to reach behind, grab onto your left hamstring or shin. Feel the stretch in your right outer hip. We're here for 3 more cycles of breath. Release the soles of your feet back down to the mat. Knees pointing towards the ceiling, hands down by your hips. You can go ahead and windshield your your knees from side to side. Maybe pause on one side before going over to the other. And come back to stillness in the middle. Hug your knees into your chest. Extend both feet up towards the ceiling. Bend your right knee to a 90-degree angle. Turn your left toes out to the side and bring your left ankle over top of your right knee, coming into reclined figure 4. You have the option to reach behind and place your hands on your right hamstring or your shin. Settle in. We're here for 3 more cycles of breath. Release both feet back down to the mat, knees pointing towards the ceiling. Give the option to windshield wiper your knees from side to side here. And come back to stillness in the middle. Hug both knees into your chest. Maybe rock side to side. And slowly find your way up to an easy seated position. Sit up nice and tall, ground down through your sitting bones. Inhale, stretch your arms out to a T. Exhale, cross your right arm across your body. Hook your left arm under your right. Hug your right arm in. Feel the stretch in your shoulder, your arm. Breathe in. We're here for 2 more deep breaths. And release your arms back down to the mat. Stretch your arms back out to a T. Cross your right arm or left arm across your body. Hook your right arm under your left. Hug your left arm in. Feel the stretch. Remember to stay nice and tall through your crown. Take one more deep breath here. And release. Stretch both of your feet out long. Come into staff pose. Go ahead and ground down through your sit bones. Hug your right knee into your chest. Place your right foot on the outside edge of your left thigh. Extend your left arm out to the side. Hug it in across your right leg. Bring your right arm behind you. Gaze over your right shoulder. On each inhale, grow tall through the crown. And on each exhale, twist a little deeper. Stay here for 3 more cycles of breath. And slowly come back to center. Place your right foot back onto the right side. Stretch it out long. Hug your left knee into your chest. Place your left foot on the outside edge of your right thigh. Stretch your right arm out to the side. Hug it across your left leg. Place your left hand behind you. Gaze over your left shoulder. Twist here. On each inhale, grow tall through your crown. And on each exhale, try to twist a little deeper. Stay here for 2 more deep breaths. And slowly twist back to center and cross your left leg. Stretch it out long. Stretch your legs out to a wide leg stance. Inhale, reach your arms overhead. Exhale, fold forward, bring your hands down to the mat or ground. Remember to breathe here. Keep your chin away from your chest. If you'd like to go a little deeper, feel free to walk your hands out. And if you'd like to back off, just walk your hands closer in towards your body. We're here for 3 more cycles of breath. Slowly walk your hands in towards your body. Sit up nice and tall. Close your legs together. Cross your shins and come in to tabletop or hands and knees. Bring your big toes together. Bring your knees out to the side edges of your mat wide and sink your hips back. Come into child's pose. Stretch your arms out in front of you. Forehead coming down onto the mat. Breathe here. Slowly come back up to tabletop. Make sure your wrists are in line with your shoulders, knees are in line with your hips. Bring your right foot behind you. Have the option to stay here or lift that right leg off the mat. Option to stay here or bring your left arm out in front of you. Stay here, tighten through your core. We're here for 2 more cycles of breath. Try to find your stability. And lower your knee back down, bring your hand back down to the mat. Stretch your left foot behind you. Option to stay here or lift your left foot off the mat, bring it to hip level. Option to stay here or stretch your right arm out in front of you. Remember to tighten through your core, find your stability. We're here for 2 more cycles of breath. And lower your knee back down to the mat, bring your hand back down. Stretch your right foot behind you. Lift your right foot off the ground. Stretch your left arm out in front of you. On your next exhale, bring your left elbow to your right knee, and we're gonna hug in at the center. And then stretch out long. Bring your left arm out in front of you, right knee behind you. One more time, squeeze in and stretch out long. And lower your hand and your knee back down to the ground. Stretch your left leg behind you. Lift your left foot off the mat, bringing it to hip level. Stretch your right arm out in front of you. On your next exhale, squeeze your elbow into your knee in the center. And stretch back out. And squeeze in. And stretch back out. Bring your hand and your knee back down to the mat. Bring your knees out wide, big toes together, sink your hips back, come into child's pose. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And slowly rise back up to tabletop. Bring your elbows down to the mat, palms facing down. Tuck your toes and slowly lift your hips up off the mat, come into dolphin. Stay here for 2 more deep breaths. And lower your knees back down to the mat. Bring your knees out wide, untuck your toes, big toes together. Sink back to child's pose. Bring your palms together in child's pose and bring your thumbs to the base of your neck. You have the option to walk your elbows forward, stretch out. Take 2 more slow, deep breaths here. Release your hands back down to the mat. Push back up to tabletop. Bring your elbows down to the mat. You have the option to keep your palms facing down on the mat, or you can bring your palms together. Tuck your toes and slowly lift your hips off the mat, come into dolphin. You have the option to walk your feet closer towards your body, or if that's too much, you can back off and walk out towards the back of your mat. On your next inhale, reach your right leg high in the air. And lower it back down to the mat. Pause here. And lift your left leg high in the air. And lower it back down to the mat. Bring your knees back down to the mat and come back to tabletop. Untuck your toes. Ground down through the palms of your hands. Tuck your toes. Slowly lift your knees off the mat. Bring your hips up and back. Come into down dog. If this is your first down dog of the day, feel free to pedal out your feet. Maybe come up onto the balls of your feet, your tippy toes, and try to sink your heels lower to the mat. Stay here for 2 more deep breaths. And reach your right leg high in the air. Exhale, thread it through for low lunge. Drop your left knee down to the mat. Untuck your toes. Slowly start to sink your right hip back. Lift your right toes off the mat. Come into runner stretch. Breathe in to your right hamstring. Stay here for 2 more deep breaths. Bring your right toes back down to the mat. Start to bend forward into your right knee. Place your left hand on the mat. Bring your right hand to your hip or reach it overhead, twist open to the side. Stay here for 3 more deep breaths. And bring your right hand back down to the mat. Slowly start to rise up. Bring your hands to your hips and then reach your arms overhead, shoulders away from the ears. Come in to crescent lunge. Remember to hug in through the midline. Slowly bring your hands back down to frame your front foot. Untuck your left toes, or tuck your left toes. Lift your left knee off the mat. Ground down through the palms of your hands and step back to down dog. Stretch your left leg high in the air. Thread it through for low lunge. Drop your right knee down to the mat and tuck your toes. And slowly start to sink your hips back. Bring your left toes off the mat. Come into runner stretch. Breathe into the left hamstring. Remember to keep a micro bend in your left knee. Slowly bring your left toes back down to the mat. Start to come forward into your left knee. Place your right hand on the mat. Bring your left hand to your hip or extend it overhead. Twist open to the side. Breathe here. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. Slowly lower your hand back down to the mat. Ground down through your front foot. Bring your hands to your hips and slowly rise up. Feel nice and tall. Extend your arms overhead, shoulders away from the ears. Hug in through the midline. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. Slowly lower your hands back down to frame your front foot. Tuck your right toes. Lift your right knee off the mat. Ground down through the palms of your hands and step back to down dog. Lift your right leg high in the air. Thread it through for low lunge. Root down through the soles of your feet. Slowly rise up to high lunge. Extend your arms overhead, shoulders away from the ears. Stay here, settle in. Anchor your left heel down, spin open to warrior 2. Bring your arms parallel to the mat. Sink into your right knee. Right knee is tracking towards your pinky toe. Settle in here. Flip your front palm. Slowly start to reach your right arm overhead. Bring your left hand down your left leg. Come into reverse warrior. Slowly rise back up to warrior 2. Start to straighten your front leg. Hinge at your hips and reach your right hand down for your shin or the mat or a block if you have one. Extend your left arm overhead. Gaze up towards the ceiling or straight out in front of you. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. Try to stack your shoulders. Slowly bend into your right knee. Ground down through the soles of your feet and slowly rise back up to warrior 2. Windmill your hands back down to frame your front foot. Spin off your left heel and step back to down dog. Extend your left leg high in the air. Thread it through for low lunge. Root down through the soles of your feet. Slowly rise up to high lunge. Extend your arms overhead. Shoulders away from the ears. Settle in here. Anchor your right heel down to the mat. Bring your arms out parallel to the mat. Come into warrior 2. Make sure your knee is tracking towards your left toe. Gaze is over your front fingers. Flip your palm, reverse your warrior. Feel the stretch in your left side body. Slowly rise back up to warrior two. Start to straighten your front leg, hinge at your hips, and bring your left hand down to your shin, the mat, or a block. Extend your right arm overhead. Gaze up towards your right hand or straight out in front of you. Come into triangle. Stay here for 2 more cycles of breath. Slowly start to bend into your front knee. Ground down through the soles of your feet. And slowly rise back up to warrior two. Windmill your hands back down to frame your front foot. Bend off your back heel. Step back to down dog. Come forward to plank. With control, slowly lower all the way down to the mat. Untuck your toes. Place your hands underneath your shoulders. Peel your heart off the mat. Come into cobra. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Elbows towards your body. And lower all the way down. Tuck your toes. Push back to down dog. Slowly start to walk your hands up to meet your feet, or your feet up to meet your hands. Fold forward. Inhale, hands to shin, spine long, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, circle sweep arms to sky. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Bring your big toes together. Leave a little space between your heels. And slowly start to sink your hips down. Come into chair pose. Option to keep your hands here at heart center, or you can extend them straight out in front of you, or reach your arms overhead, keeping your arms in line with your ears. Remember to keep your shoulders away from your ears. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. And slowly release that forward fold. Inhale, hands to shin, spine long, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, reach your arms up overhead. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Bend your right knee. Reach your right hand to the inside edge of your right foot. You have the option to stay here, or you can extend your left arm overhead. Option to stay here, or slowly hinge forward, come into dancer's pose. Multiple options. All depends on your balance today, where you would like to stay. Remember, if you're in full dancer's pose, which I'm not doing a good job of demoing, remember to kick your right hand into your palm. Stretch your arm out forward. Find your stability in your left foot and left leg. Tighten your core. We're here for 2 more deep breaths. And slowly rise back up. Release your right foot. Bring your left arm back down. Inhale, reach your arms overhead. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Inhale, bend your left knee. Capture the inside edge of your left foot with your left hand. Option to stay here or extend your right arm overhead. Option to stay here or slowly start to hinge forward. Kick your left hand into your left palm. Come into dancer's pose. Sometimes it's windy outside, sometimes it's windy inside. Ground down through your standing leg. Stay nice and tall. We're here for 2 more deep breaths. Kick that foot into your palm. Slowly rise back up. Release your left foot. Bring your right hand back down. Inhale, reach your arms overhead. Exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale, hands to shin, spine long, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. And step back to down dog. Inhale, reach your right leg high in the air. Exhale, thread it through for low lunge. Root down through the soles of your feet. Slowly rise back up to high lunge. Extend your arms overhead. Settle in here. Anchor your left heel down, spin open, come into warrior two. Flip your front palm, reverse your warrior. Remember to breathe. Slowly come back up to warrior two. Bend your right elbow. Bring your right elbow down to your right thigh. Extend your left arm overhead. You have the option to drop your right hand down to the mat or take a bind here if you'd like. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. And slowly start to rise back up to warrior two. Windmill your hands back down to frame your front foot. Spin off your back heel and step back to down dog. Lift your left leg high in the air. Exhale, thread it through for low lunge. Root down through the soles of your feet. Slowly rise up to high lunge. Extend your arms overhead, shoulders away from the ears. Anchor your right heel down, spin open, come into warrior two. Settle in here. Flip your front palm, reverse your warrior. Slowly rise back up to warrior two. Bend your left elbow, place your left arm on your left thigh, extend your right arm overhead. Option to stay here or bring your left hand back down to the mat or take a bind. You do what you would like to do here, what feels good for your practice. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. And slowly rise back up to warrior two. Windmill your hands back down to frame your front foot. Spin off your back heel. Step back to down dog. Come forward to plank. Slowly lower all the way down to the mat. Untuck your toes. You can come into cobra or up dog here, your choice. And push back to down dog. Lower your knees back down to the mat and slowly rise all the way up, coming up onto your knees, standing tall. Bring your right foot out to the side. Toes can be pointing towards the long side of your mat or the short side of your mat. Slowly start to walk your right hand down your leg. Extend your left arm overhead. Stretch out through your left side body. Breathe in here. And slowly rise back up to standing. Pause here in the middle. Bring your left hand back down to the mat. Extend your arm overhead on the right side. Gaze up towards the ceiling. Arm is in line with your head and your leg, almost making it look like a diagonal line. Stretch out through your right side body. We're here for 2 more deep breaths. And bring your right hand down to your hip. Slowly rise back up. Bend your right knee, place it back down next to your left. Extend your left leg out long to the side. Toes can be pointing towards the short side of your mat or the long. Slowly start to walk your left hand down your leg and extend your right arm overhead. Feel the stretch in your right side body. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. Bring your right hand down to your hip. Slowly rise back up. Pause here in the middle. And bring your right hand down to the mat. Extend your left arm overhead, making that diagonal line with your left side body. Gaze can be up towards the ceiling. We're here for 2 more deep breaths. Bring your left hand down to your left hip. Slowly rise back up. Bring your left knee in. Come back into tabletop. Ground down through your right palm and your right knee. Step your left foot back. Extend your left arm overhead. You have the option to stay here, or you can lift your left foot off the mat. You have the option to stay here, or you can come into full side plank. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. If you're in full side plank, feel nice and grounded through your right palm. Push down, push your hips up towards the ceiling. And lower your left hand down to the mat. Come back into tabletop. Ground down through your left palm and your left knee. Step your right foot back. Reach your right arm overhead. Options again to stay here, or lift your right foot off the mat, or come into full side plank. You also have options when you're in full side plank. You could bring your foot into a tree position. Extend your right foot up. It's your practice. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. And slowly lower your right hand back down to the mat. Come into tabletop. Sink back, come into child's pose. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And slowly come back up to tabletop. Tuck your toes. Lift your knees off the mat, bring your hips up and back, come into down dog. Lift your right leg high in the air. Exhale, bring your right foot to the outside edge of your right hand. Option to stay here or lower your left knee down to the mat. Option to stay here or bring your elbows down to the mat or to a block. Come into lizard pose in whatever variety works for you today. You have the option to hug your right knee in towards your shoulder, or you can slowly lower onto the outside edge of your right foot and splay your right knee out to the side. Settle in here. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. If you lowered your hands down, go ahead and come back up onto your palms. If you lowered your knee down to the mat, go ahead and lift your left knee back up. Ground down through the palms of your hands. Step your right foot back to down dog. Lift your left leg high in the air. Exhale, place your left foot by the outside edge of your left hand. You have the option to stay here or lower your right knee down to the mat. Option to stay here or lower your elbows down to the mat. Just take notice, one side might be a little tighter than the other. So what you did on the other side might not serve you on this side. So just make an adjustment. Again, you have the option to hug your left knee in towards your shoulder, or you can roll onto the outside edge of your left foot. Splay your left knee out to the side. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. If you lower down onto your elbows, come back up. If you lowered your right knee down to the mat, lift it back up. Ground down through your palms of your hands and step your left foot back to down dog. Take 1 more deep inhale here. And a big exhale. And lower your knees back down to the mat. Cross your shins and come into a seated position, knees up towards the ceiling, soles of your feet on the mat. We're going to come into boat pose. So we're going to slowly sink our shoulders back, bring our shins parallel to the mat. You can extend your arms out straight in front of you, or for a little added support, you can reach behind and place them on your hamstrings. If this becomes too much, you can also lower your feet back down to the mat. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. Go ahead and lower your feet down to the mat and slowly lower all the way down to a supine position. Just take a moment to find your breath here. And place your ankles under your knees. Bring your hands back down towards next to your hips. Ground down through the soles of your feet. Slowly lift your hips off the mat. Come into bridge pose. You have the option to stay here, or you can interlace your fingers, walk your shoulder blades together. Stay here for 3 more cycles of breath. If you interlace your fingers, go ahead and release those and slowly lower down one vertebrae at a time, bringing your hips down last. Take a pause here. We're going to do one more bridge pose. You have the option to do exactly as we just did. If you have a block, you can go into a restorative bridge, or if it's in your practice, you can also take wheel pose. It's up to you. Whatever you plan to do, go ahead and set up for that. I'm going to do traditional bridge pose. So slowly start to lift your hips off the mat. We're here for 5 deep breaths. Remember to ground down through your feet. Push your hips towards the ceiling. Tighten your glutes. You can interlace your fingers and walk your shoulder blades together if you'd like. Stay with me for 2 more deep breaths. And slowly lower down. Bring your knees into your chest. Go ahead and rock side to side if that feels good. And extend your feet up towards the ceiling. Hands can be down by your hips. Coming into legs up the wall. You have the option to stay here, or you can take any inversion you would like at this time. If you would like to come into shoulder stand or plow pose, or if you're by a wall and you'd like to put your legs physically up a wall, go ahead and do so now. We are going to stay here for 5 more deep breaths. Feel the weight of gravity pulling on your body. And slowly come out of whatever inversion you chose to take today. And hug your knees into your chest. You can rock side to side if that feels good. Hug your right knee in. Stretch your left leg out long. Keep your left hand on the outside edge of your right leg. Extend your right arm out to a T. Slowly sink your right knee over to the left side of your mat. Gaze over your right hand. Come into supine twist. Try to keep your right shoulder grounded on the mat. Stay here for 3 more deep breaths. And slowly come back to center. Hug your right knee into your chest. And then extend it out long. Hug your left knee into your chest. Place your right hand on the outside edge of your left knee. Send your left arm out long to a T. Slowly sink your left knee over to the right side of your mat. Gaze over your left shoulder. Keep your left shoulder grounded on the mat. Come into supine twist. We're here for 3 more deep breaths. And slowly rise back up to center. Hug your left knee into your chest. And extend your left leg out long. Hug both knees into your chest. Maybe rock side to side if that feels good. Maybe grab the outside edges of your feet and come into happy baby. At this time, I invite you to do any asana you need to do to complete your practice today. And when you're ready, hug your knees into your chest and find your way into relaxation pose, Shavasana. Maybe extend your feet out to the outside edges of your mat. Face your palms up towards the ceiling. Close your eyes and settle in. Scan your body. Notice any changes you may feel from the beginning of your practice. Take notice of the quality of your breath. Has it changed since the beginning? And just focus in on your breath, on your body relaxing into the mat, letting go, softening it. Slowly start to deepen your breath. Maybe invite some movement into your fingers and your toes. Maybe extend your arms overhead and stretch out. And maybe hug your knees in towards your chest. Or rolling on to your side. Pause here. Take a deep breath. And then slowly come up to a seated position. And bring your hands to heart center. Close your eyes. I want to take a moment to thank you so much for showing up, for sharing your practice with me. Thank you so much again for showing up today. The light in me sees and honors the light in each one of you. Namaste.